Hey there, Solo here, and today we're going to be talking about the Crucible and some of the changes that we'd like to see in the future of the franchise. Now, I will admit this video took a while for me to actually put out because there was a lot of hesitation in vocalizing some of the changes that I wanted to see for several reasons. One being that I honestly didn't feel that I had enough credibility to be able to talk about some of the changes that I want to see. But in realizing that I've been playing Destiny since D1, day one, I have been playing the Crucible for a while. I've not always been good at the Crucible, but in the most recent years, I have been improving and really trying to understand how the sandbox evolves, how the different weapons interact with the sandbox, and TTK, understanding just the whole ecosystem of the Crucible, if you will. And because I've taken the time to understand that, I feel like some of the changes that I want to see are not so out there where they're like, yo, Solo, you have no idea what you're talking about, but like, this is not your area. I do feel like there's some changes that there might be other people that are feeling the same way. And I feel at this time where Bungie is constantly developing the game, with the rumors that they're working on the September expansion. These are some of the changes that, I would like to see going into whatever that next piece of content is, if it does bring wide changes like September releases usually do. So going straight into it, one of the first things that I want to be changed or restructured is this whole 6v6. Now, if you weren't with us when D2 launched, the Crucible was only 4v4. Bungie had this idea where in order to make, balance changes, in order to make this Crucible just as balanced as possible, they wanted to make it only 4v4. That was it. No other modes, no 3v3, no 6v6, nothing, just 4v4. And the community did not like that. So for a while, they were pleading with Bungie and letting them know, hey, this 4v4, it's not working. It's not cutting out. It's not working. Bungie decided, yes, okay, we'll bring back 6v6. Now, the issue with that is that that's all they did. They just brought 6v6, and at least to me and how I interact with 6v6 game modes, it doesn't feel like they put enough attention or enough focusing in balancing the Crucible for a 6v6 mode. One of the major points to that is that none of the maps were changed, were expanded upon, were catered towards a 6v6 style of playing. All the maps that we have in D2, well, besides the ones that were returned from D1 or that were brought from D1 to D2, all of the launch maps, they were designed for 4v4. So when you take a map that had a specific number of guardians on a map, and then you just say, hey, well, we're just going to add 4 more and not do anything to the maps, that doesn't create a good time. Another element that goes into that is the fact that the abilities, the weapons, the TTK, the whole economy of Crucible in D1 supported a 6v6 structure. We now have not only just different weapon types, we have different abilities, different class abilities, different supers that supported at the time a 4v4 structure. So when you add 6v6 into that and just say, oh, well, we just upped the number of players, now here's your 6v6, at least for me, I actually hate going into 6v6. I don't like it. I just feel like it's too much of a cluster to where I'm not learning anything. And, especially as a Crucible player like me, who's always trying to improve his skill, always trying to, actually get better than I am now, I feel like a 6v6 game mode on any type of game mode is not going to help me get there. At least to me, it's wasting space. Now, what I would like to see is either a reversion back to 4v4 or at max do a 5v5. Now, I know that that's not going to sit well with some people, and it might sound kind of contradictory because when the game launched, it was no more 4v4, and now it's like, we'll go back to 4v4. We don't have to go back to 4v4 exactly, but I feel like the maps right now do not support 6v6, so either do something to the maps or do something to the max number of people on a map, which I feel needs to be capped at 5v5. Now, if they actually do that, that would be great. And I feel like in them bringing, hopefully going back to the 4v4, but even if let's say they do the 5v5, in them eliminating that extra 2 guardians, I feel like that will be enough to make the Crucible, those specific Crucible modes less chaotic. And at least there will be some semblance of, I'm hopping into the Crucible to learn how to, react more and react faster to different guardians. Even, if it's just a free play style, hey, I'm just here to hop and to have a good time. It doesn't feel so chaotic to where it's like, I have to be on my toes. Otherwise, I'm just going to get killed every second on the second because there's too many people here. So that is just my thoughts about the whole 6v6 and how it needs to be restructured. The next one that I have on my list of things that I want to see changed or improved upon is player choice with maps and modes. I took a look at the D1 options that we had a while ago, and I can't recall the exact number, but it was somewhere around, I want to say somewhere between like 26 to 28 or something like that, where there were different variations or different modes that you can go into. Now, to be fair, that was you had your clash, you had your control, you had your supremacy, but you also had like a version of like a hardcore clash, a hardcore control, hardcore supremacy, but there was still a good amount of different modes that you could participate in D1. We actually have less than that in D2. And I know that right now there's a little bit of people feeling like right now the landing page for the Crucible is too much. There's too many different options. I feel like the ask should not be to reduce the number of modes that we currently have in Crucible. It's to fix up that main page. Because yes, if it's too much on the page, I understand that. Then there should be, I feel like we should revert back to, let's say, where D2 launched and it had only 2 playlists. It had a casual or a quick play and a competitive. I feel like there should be a way to where you bring back those 2, and maybe you have, your static game modes, and then you have like your competitive game modes or something like that to where it expands. So I know that they currently have like this idea that you should only be able to click into one sub menu, but with the amount of modes that the Crucible will have, or the amount of modes that we're asking for, that I'm asking for, it will have to be 2, unfortunately. In which I don't think that many people will have a problem with that. If you are actually providing unique game modes such as Rift and if you want to add an extra bubble and put in SRL in there, hint, even though that technically was not Crucible, but it was PvP. But plus that's also a highly revered mode that we've been asking for Bungie to return, but in keeping with traditional Crucible PvP. I just want to see that there's other modes that they would bring, in that hopefully they bring more game modes into D2. And in that, while we're speaking on the player choice of maps and modes, not exactly giving us the choice to choose what map we play on, but I still have to do a little bit of testing. But I've noticed that it feels like there's only a select amount of maps that you would get per day. Like one day you'll just get Bannerfall and another map, and it would just go back and forth between that. And then one day you'll get, like in that session, you get Retribution like once, and then it goes back to those same circulating 2 maps, and then it'll change the next day. Again, I haven't done testing, I'm only talking anecdotally, but I feel like if that is the way that they're doing it, to where not all the maps, are not available all day, make all the maps available. I'm tired of going into Crucible matches and playing on the same map for 5 games only to have a random map the next game and then going back to the same map for the next 5 games. Like, please give us the choice, give us the ability to, you know, not necessarily saying give us the choice to choose the maps, but give us the illusion that we're not playing on the same map for 5 games in a row. That would be so helpful. The last one that I have is geared towards the rewards, and you know, I was going into it thinking, oh well, this would be about, you know, pinnacle rewards, this will be about meaningful aftermatch rewards, but I think it just sums down, all of this sums down to just give us a reason to play Crucible. And I know that a lot of people, they've said that before, and they've said that as reasoning too. Well, you know, why should I go for the pinnacle reward? Why should I go for, you know, when they had the pinnacle weapons with Luna's Howl, Mountaintop, those kind of weapons. I agree with those, but also I feel like, you know, can you give us more than just 10 masterwork cores? I've seen other content creators and people in the community talk about it, and it's just like, you know, PvP is severely lacking in an incentive to play. And it's just this whole same thing of like, oh, well, you hit legend rank, here's your 10 masterwork cores, now do it all over again. Meanwhile, there's some of us out here that have like 5, 10 resets. Like, can we get some milestones that would allow us to get a, you know, a ascendant shard? You know, you masterwork 10 times, you get to legend rank 10 times, you get a ascendant shard. Because 10 resets is not easy to do. You have to put in a lot of time. And in that, you know, and even in that, giving us the reason to play, going back to aftermatch rewards, why are you giving us blues? Like, that is so annoying to me, only because it's like, honestly, what are we going to be doing with these blues? Sharding them. The moment we see a blue in our inventory, especially if you've been playing the game for as long as I have, the moment you see a blue, you're just instantly sharding. Why will you just not give us the materials? If I'm even sure for themselves, for Bungie who's playing the game at home, I'm sure you're not hanging on to your blues like, ooh, maybe one day I'll keep this. We know you're not going to keep it. So why waste the space? Why waste the resources in giving us those blues when you know that we're just going to shard them, which means glimmer and weapon parts? So just give us the glimmer and weapon parts. Make those legendaries, makes those, you know, possible exotics stand out more and actually be a surprise, rather than just wasting all of our time and our space and, you know, our postmaster space giving us blues that you already know what's going to happen to them. So that's what I had so far in terms of what I want to see change about, you know, the Crucible and then the upcoming expansions and everything. There was a lot that went into this list before, just going through like, oh, well, you know, maybe different ideas for pinnacle weapons and, you know, just the whole like different ways to interact in the Crucible. But I feel like these 3 things are a good start. But that's all I have for you today. Let me know in the comments below if you're still playing Crucible, what you think about some of the changes that you may want to see in the Crucible, or if you like any of the ideas that I stated in the video. Sharing is caring, so please let me know down below. If you like this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and if you want to see more content like this, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. But again, thank you so much, and I will catch you in the next one. Solo says, so long.